Further delay, no further delay. We're about to just get on it, man, and
All right.
get up into this world right now. Okay, okay. It's brother EB, success after lockdown. We in the building. We in the building today with the brother Jeffrey Collins. Brother Jeffrey
Indeed.
Collins, if I got it correct too,
Yeah.
Jazzy Light Clothing.
Yes. Yes.
Brother doing a lot of things,
Like like loose beats.
no question. It's definitely good to have you on with us today, man. This afternoon, man. Appreciate
Yes.
it. We definitely look to have you on our full podcast too, man. When we make it down to the city, so we do interviews at Exodus in the podcast room at Exodus,
Look.
and that's me and my brother, my partner Anthony Colon, who couldn't be here today. He in Florida, so
Good.
he's running his business today. But I just want us to just share with our followers, man, followers,
Uh,
family, friends, who
yeah.
Jeffrey Collins is, and let's just get into your business, man, and what
uh,
where you we could start from the beginning, man.
yeah. Let's start
Since
again.
we both really formally meeting each other right now,
Yeah.
we could go round for round. You know what I mean? You
No
could
question.
just touch on your past and where you come from. Two parent home, one parent. How was your life growing up? Things like that, and just everyday average conversation.
No doubt. No doubt. Okay. Like you said, my name is Jeffrey Collins. Man, I grew up in the tri-state, really. I should say, because I was born in Manhattan, Bellevue Hospital. Lived in the Bronx till I was 9,
Big
and
up
then
to Bellevue.
and then I moved and then I moved to Brooklyn, East New York, at 9 years old. So I'm from all over. I say, you know what I mean. But right now I'm residing in South Carolina, and I've been down here for the last 6 months. But to touch on my upbringing, I lived with my moms and my grandmother until I was about 9 years old, and it was a bad situation there. It was a welfare check to welfare check. You know what I'm saying? Just hard, man. I was going to school, but I was kind of like, I go to school and then I got to come home to. It's a lot of madness in the house. You know what I mean? Everybody's doing
Yeah.
everything. So my pops that came and got me at 9 years old and took me to live with his mother, which is my grandmother, whose house I'm living in right now. You know what I mean? And she took me in, but being that I was already exposed to the other side of my family, I was like more rebellious. You know what I mean? But and then she put hard restrictions on me, knowing that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where from, you know what I mean? So it was like a tug of war between me and her. My pops was in and out. He was in the streets. He'd come back and forth. So it was really, I seen him a couple of times, but he wasn't in my life like that. You know what I mean? Me and him going through that right now about how we came up. You know what I'm saying? So tuggling back and forth about you being there, you not being there. We going through that right now. But I'm the type to just push it to the side and deal with you now as you is. You know what I'm saying? That's like focus on that. We already went through that. But he's still stuck on like what I did for you and this and that. And so I just let him go about it and have it his way. You did what you could. And I appreciate me being here. That's it. But I grew up in East New York majority of my life, and not majority of my life. Majority of my life was spent in prison. I did 27 years for a crime I didn't even commit. So it was it was a rough upbringing. East New York at the time was drug infested. You know, at one time it was the murder capital, and I was just getting into the drug world because my friends was doing it. I started at 13 and never looked back. You know what I mean? My
Yeah.
grandmother, when she found out that I was selling drugs, she basically kicked me out the house. You know what I mean? I ain't had no keys, so I came to the door. And one day she was like, you might as well go back where you came from. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, all right. And from then I was in the streets. I
Yeah.
lived in, I lived in a, I lived in friends' basements. I lived in my, when I bought a little $1,000 car or something, I lived in my car. I lived in hotels. You know what I mean? When I can get in the hotel, so it was a tough upbringing. You know what I mean? And then at
No.
16, I was still dealing in the drugs, and I went to prison for a drug case. I went to jail for a drug case, and a month later, murder charges was brought against me. Full,
Okay. So yeah. So we definitely go touch on that, man. That's very important. Very very important. Just if we could go back a little bit, in
yeah,
that youth, because like I always like to tell all my you know people that come up here and talk with me, all of brothers and sisters that come and conversate with us. I always tell them we got so many similarities. You know what I'm saying? So much similarity. So I was born actually in Harlem Hospital, but that's because my mom's was on drugs and she was in Harlem up to no
mm,
good at the
yeah,
time. Her water broke and you know what I'm saying. She had me in Harlem Hospital, but soon as we left the hospital, back to the Bronx. So I'm originally from the Bronx, born and raised, really, you know. And and I look at that, because we, a lot of us cross paths and don't even, realize we cross paths with each other. You know what I mean? I
yeah.
also like to look at those um those times, and I ask people, when you were out there, whatever age it was, 9, 11, 14, whatever, did you ever see any of those, or did you have any of those positive influences around you that you might have dismissed, or remember now as you got older and got wiser? You know what I'm saying? That you didn't realize. Did you ever have any of that around?
Oh, I can't recall one. I
So let me say this real quick too. While you thinking, I'm gonna let you think a little more because I'm gonna give you an example. We had a brother around our block. We all, we came out the house 12 years old, 11, 12, started selling weed on the block in the Bronx. And this brother, him and his family, they moved. He came back like years later, and he used to sell with us. So
hmm
now he came back as Muslim, and he came back, trying to get us to get off them corners now. Yo, listen, y'all know y'all shouldn't be, you know what I'm saying? So it got so bad where we hid from him. When he came, everybody was like, yo, Skip coming, yo, get yo, we jetted in the building hiding from him. But I just talk about that one example because I remember that he was that positive influence for me that I
yeah,
always killed. You know what I'm saying? I dismissed it. As I got older, I began to see like, wow, you know what I mean? If I'd listened to Skip, you know what I mean? I wouldn't have put myself, maybe my path would have been different.
different. Yeah. I mean, I can't say there wasn't, but maybe I wasn't. And as I look back now, my positive, I could say one person, but
No
you
question.
you looking at, I'm not looking at the age bracket. I'm looking at somebody that's, even though you might you might think that y'all on the same level, but they have a more brighter thinking path of you, and they see something in you or something like that. So I would say it's the kid, it was the brother that I grew up with. You know what I'm saying? Regardless of me, we was in the same gang. He was selling drugs, but he always had a viewpoint that I didn't see. You know what I'm saying? So
Nice.
that was what, you know his, and to this day we tight like this. And he always called me to check on me because he know I was in prison for something I didn't do. And he always check on my mental because, you know, he know that can affect a person, you know what I'm saying? So he was always the one, you know, always has a brighter outlook on things. And that right there was a positive motivation for me, like to try to get out the drug game. That was my whole thing. I wanted to get out the drug game, but I wanted to leave with a lump sum and go do something else. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
I got trapped. You know what I'm
We
saying?
got yeah, we get caught
What
up
happened?
in the matrix. That's
So,
right.
but that's the only person right now that I could think of. Not to say that it wasn't anybody else. You know what I
No,
mean?
but listen, that's why I always bring it up because everybody that I talk with here at Success After Lockdown, man, all the brothers and sisters, everybody have at least one example, man. We
Yeah,
and that's just my point. You know what I mean? I have one example. You know what I mean? when I when I look at it, yeah, I could say my grandmother was a big, positive influence because she used to always tell me too.
yeah,
Listen,
yeah,
you're gonna wind up one or two ways, either underground or in that prison. And I wound up in the prison as
yeah,
well. You know what I mean? I had to learn the hard way
yeah,
too.
definitely.
You know what I mean? So
Definitely.
so um so now could you just I guess go along go with this journey of when you told me, I think you said you were 16 when you first got
Yeah,
locked up for drugs, and then right after this
yeah,
horrible incident happened to you, and how was that?
yeah. It was. I was dealing with a couple of dudes that I was selling. I was still selling drugs for somebody else at this time when this happened. But um, at the time I was just running the drugs. I wasn't on the corner. I was just going back and forth picking up money and but I was also after I finished with that I was also selling my own drugs.